sometimes it's just been so natural to us, we don't realize that we're, maybe a strong way to say it is we're cursing our future. You can curse your future or you can bless your future, so be careful what you say.
Joel Osteen's smile has filled millions of living rooms, promising hope, success, and a better life. Yet behind the inspiring words and stadium lights, a growing number of questions cast shadows over his empire. How does a pastor preaching prosperity handle criticism about wealth, transparency, and real ministry impact? Can a message focused on blessing and positivity survive when storms, both literal and metaphorical, hit? From multi-million-dollar budgets to security lapses and declining faith among younger generations, something is stirring beneath the surface of Osteen's polished brand. The rise of a media megachurch. Joel Osteen's journey began far from the spotlight he commands today. Born in Houston in 1963, he grew up in a household steeped in faith and church tradition, rooted in his father John Osteen's founding of Lakewood Church. What started as a small congregation in a rundown feed store grew steadily under John's leadership into a thriving community. Joel stayed behind the scenes for years, handling television production and learning the craft of broadcasting rather than ministry. For 17 years, Joel was the man behind the camera, refining the message for TV audiences and shaping Lakewood's polished presentation. He had no formal theological training and preferred not to preach, committing instead to perfecting the way the church's message was delivered. But life forced a change in 1999 when Joel finally stepped up to preach after his father's unexpected death. It was a sudden shift, but the church had about 6,000 members then, and the stage was set for rapid growth. Soon, Joel's simple, hopeful sermons began attracting tens of thousands every week. By 2004, Lakewood was the largest church in America, with attendance soaring to between 25 and 30,000. This remarkable growth came alongside a strategic media expansion. Joel doubled the budget for airtime, secured prime TV slots in major cities, filled highways with billboards, and made sure his message reached as many homes as possible. The biggest leap came with the move to the Compaq Center, a former sports arena in Houston. Transforming a basketball stadium into a house of worship was unprecedented. Over $95 million went into renovation, creating a state-of-the-art facility with waterfalls, broadcast studios, classrooms, and more. When Lakewood reopened in 2005, all 16,000 seats were filled and millions watched from home. The church didn't just grow, it became a sensation. Osteen's presence on television grew into a media empire, reaching an estimated 10 million viewers weekly across more than 100 countries. His sermons and events were polished productions, combining uplifting messages with sweeping visuals and music. This media dominance helped Lakewood transition from a local church to a global movement. It also positioned Joel as one of the most recognizable voices in contemporary Christianity. His outreach was further boosted by his authorship. The release of Your Best Life Now in 2004 marked a cultural moment, bridging faith and motivational literature. The book's rapid success, selling millions and staying on bestseller lists for years, cemented Joel's status beyond just a pastor to a mainstream influencer. This platform expanded with more books, speaking engagements, and a massive social media presence, scoring millions of followers across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Joel's Night of Hope arena tours marked another innovation, turning faith gatherings into major events. Selling tickets for these concerts, complete with lights, music, and energy, he packed stadiums in cities like Miami, New York, and London. These productions reshaped how religious events were experienced, blending worship with entertainment on a massive scale. It was a masterstroke in branding, a carefully crafted image of hope and positivity that resonated with millions. Despite these achievements, questions began surfacing about what was driving this growth and what it might be concealing. Behind the scenes, issues of wealth, transparency, and spiritual depth started to cast doubts on the image. Storm clouds gathered, signaling that the story of Joel Osteen and Lakewood Church had far more complexity beneath the surface. The message behind his success was clear, but not without controversy. A brand built on positivity, Joel Osteen's sermons are known for their uplifting tone, focusing on hope, personal growth, and the promise of God's blessings. Unlike traditional preachers who emphasize sin, repentance, or suffering, Joel's style is more akin to motivational speaking. He encourages listeners to believe in themselves, to dream big, and to trust God's plan for their success. This approach appeals to a broad audience hungry for encouragement in uncertain times. This brand of positivity intentionally avoids confronting difficult spiritual topics. Joel rarely talks about sin, hell, or the cross, choosing instead to highlight prosperity, happiness, and purpose. Critics dub this the cotton candy gospel, sweet and easy to swallow, but lacking in theological depth. For many, it's not about transformation through grace, but about self-improvement through faith. Joel himself has openly said he prefers to avoid heavy doctrines because he thinks people need to find inspiration rather than receive judgment. His message provides hope to people who experience overwhelming life challenges through its simple message. His warm smile and calm delivery create a safe space for millions who seek comfort. The practice of his preaching has drawn criticism from theologians and fellow pastors because they believe it weakens biblical doctrine. The prosperity gospel that Joel advocates originates from the Word of Faith movement, which teaches that positive declarations and faith in God will result in health and wealth. Joel has asserted that God commands his followers to live without debt and illness, which provides both comfort to believers and creates doubt. His followers say they receive encouragement from him, while skeptics believe the approach creates an attitude of entitlement instead of promoting repentance. People who criticize this teaching argue that it overlooks essential aspects of Christian existence, which include difficulties and sacrifices and the need for holiness. The system creates a risk that transforms faith into a system that requires people to believe in order to receive blessings, instead of relying on grace. Antinomianism, which critics identify as a belief that grace permits moral freedom, represents a view that diverges from standard Christian beliefs. Osteen's ministry presents spiritual tension, which shows itself through various ministry concerns. The delivery method that Joel uses for his presentations functions as a brand endorsement through his memorized sermons, which he delivers with exact timing for television broadcasts to present comforting messages without detailed biblical content. He seldom consults his notes or presents in-depth biblical teachings, which some people consider to be entertainment rather than educational content. Joel's preaching style presents less substantial material than that of his father, John Osteen, who delivered more comprehensive biblical messages. This ministry approach, based on performance, creates two results that help ministers gain fame but make people doubt their authentic spiritual connection. Fans of Joel Osteen continue to support him despite his negative reviews because he brings them positive messages that create hope. He serves as a source of positivity, which people see as their reason to support him. His books and social media content reach millions of users every day who seek positive messages. This brand has become a defining feature of contemporary megachurch ministry, which shows how faith communities have developed different preferences and new expectations. The message that has propelled his career forward now makes him vulnerable to increased public examination. The first signs of trouble appear when people experience actual difficulties that develop with prosperity promises and bad news. People focus their scrutiny on Joel Osteen's ministry because his wealth and organizational practices raise important issues. The business behind the blessings is where controversy deepens. Wealth and controversy. Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church operates on a vast scale, with an annual budget of around $90 million and media revenues nearing $55 million each year. Despite the church's public emphasis on generosity, only about 1.3% of that budget is allocated to missions and outreach. Most funds support services, television production, large events like Night of Hope, and administrative costs. This imbalance raises questions about priorities and mission. Lakewood faced criticism during the COVID-19 pandemic because the church received federal Paycheck Protection Program loans, which should have gone to small businesses facing financial difficulties. The church, which had a substantial budget together with Joel's estimated personal wealth of between $50 million and $100 million, became the center of public outrage. The church returned the funds, but the incident created stronger doubts about their financial management and transparency practices. Joel Osteen himself has stated that he does not receive a salary from the church because he depends on royalties from his book sales and his paid speaking engagements. Your Best Life Now, his first major book, sold more than 4 million copies, which generated him significant revenue. Osteen earns between $100,000 and $200,000 for each speaking event he attends, and he has built a church-related merchandise business, which includes books, CDs, apparel, and gifts. Osteen has established luxury as an element of his public persona. Osteen resides in a $10.5 million mansion and possesses another residence valued at $3 million. Osteen bought a $3 million house after critics accused him of living in an expensive world. While his supporters believe that his wealth proves his message has succeeded, his critics argue that his prosperity demonstrates a gospel that benefits him instead of his followers. The church's financial situation becomes more confusing because of ongoing legal disputes. Lakewood faced a lawsuit from an electronic music band in 2011 because they used a song without permission, and the band demanded $3 million in damages. The court case reached a resolution that favored Lakewood in 2012, yet it demonstrated the ministry's extensive business connections and operational complexity. The lawsuit demonstrated how extensive yet unorganized church operations had developed. American tax laws create this financial capacity because they permit churches to operate without providing complete financial reports. Megachurches like Lakewood function as distinct charitable entities because they do not require public reporting of their financial operations. The absence of clear financial information creates suspicion about donation spending, which leads to criticism about whether the church keeps its promises to the congregation. The community first learned about these issues during disasters. Lakewood Church kept its entrance shut during the Houston flood, which occurred in 2017 when Hurricane Harvey made landfall. The public started to criticize the church's decision because officials used accessibility issues as their reason to keep the church closed, which led to the creation of the hashtag #OpenLakewoodChurch hashtag. The church reopened to the public after several days, yet the public never fully trusted it again. Similarly, in 2024, Lakewood faced a tragic shooting incident that exposed security vulnerabilities despite its massive resources and sizable congregation. These crises, combined with financial scrutiny, have challenged Joel Osteen's carefully curated image, prompting many to question whether the prosperity gospel and spectacle can withstand real-world tests. Joel Osteen's story is one of a remarkable rise but mounting pressures, where faith, fortune, and public expectation collide in complex ways. Public crises and accountability. Lakewood Church's public image has faced significant tests during moments of crisis, exposing vulnerabilities in leadership and security. In August 2017, Hurricane Harvey devastated Houston, flooding neighborhoods and displacing thousands. Despite having a massive facility that could shelter over 16,000 people, Lakewood's doors initially remained closed. The church posted that flooding made the building inaccessible, but local footage showed dry roads and access, fueling anger and disbelief. The hashtag #OpenLakewoodChurch trended widely, with frustrated Houstonians and celebrities alike criticizing the decision not to open earlier. Eventually, the church welcomed people, but the delay left a stain on its reputation, raising questions about priorities during emergencies. Many wondered how a church with vast resources and influence could appear so disconnected from community needs in a time of crisis. The incident sparked a broader conversation about the responsibilities of megachurches in moments of public need. During Hurricane Beryl in 2024, Lakewood took an active approach by distributing 40,000 water bottles and meals to support their community. The pastor used social media to request prayer as his first response, instead of providing immediate help to people who required it. The church should conduct more than prayers, according to social media users who expressed their present displeasure with the church. The online conversations displayed two opposing emotions, which created a clear divide between spiritual authority and actual community assistance. The church faced a trust crisis with its members when a family accused an usher of taking their baby's car seat, which led to their child getting hurt. Lakewood Church denied two of the allegations against them, but they later paid $15,000 to settle the lawsuit. The incident created minor problems, yet it raised higher worries about safety and security within the major organization. The church faces an important challenge, which involves protecting its vulnerable members while ensuring all activities remain transparent. The Lakewood Church shooting on February 11, 2024, marked a more dangerous time for the church. Janice Yvonne Moreno entered with an AR-15 and a 7-year-old son, claiming to carry a bomb. She shot multiple people before security officers slain her. Her son suffered a gunshot wound to the head, which needed several emergency surgical operations. The church shooting incident, which happened during the church service, exposed critical security deficiencies to both church members and local residents. The security system failed to protect the church because Moreno entered the building despite off-duty police officers and warning signs that her family and law enforcement personnel had issued before. The surveillance footage showed her moving through the building while she displayed weapons to unarmed security personnel and other people in the hallway before the shooting incident. The investigation found that she had both documented mental health conditions and radical beliefs, which enabled her to purchase military-grade weapons because Texas had legal loopholes allowing such transactions. Trust is fragile, and the cracks in safety and stewardship are difficult to mend. Yet, behind the scenes, Lakewood's inner workings and leadership dynamics add a new dimension to understanding this complex institution. Family ministry and internal growth. The story of Lakewood Church is not just about Joel Osteen, but also his family's deep involvement, which shapes its identity and continuity. Joel met Victoria, his future wife, in a Houston jewelry store in 1985. Their marriage 2 years later became the foundation for a joint ministry partnership that would expand Lakewood's reach beyond Joel's preaching. Victoria brought a unique blend of faith and intellect, coming from a family with a NASA engineer father and a Sunday school teacher mother. Victoria Osteen established Lakewood's women's ministry in 2003, which rapidly expanded to provide services for thousands of women each year. Her stage presence reached a level that matched Joel's, while she inspired massive crowds through her motivational speeches and her successful books, such as Love Your Life. She delivered a message that explained how people can heal their emotional pain to achieve personal development, which aligned with the church's main message of spreading positivity. Her journey from working retail to becoming one of America's most famous female pastors demonstrates how Lakewood values family traditions and empowers individuals. The church's ministry depends on its children, Jonathan and Alexandra, who continue the family tradition of serving the church. Jonathan, who was born in 1995, started leading worship when he was a teenager, and he studied radio and film. He delivered his first sermon in 2019, which marked his official start as a pastor. Alexandra, who was born in 1998, served as lead vocalist for Lakewood's worship band, which helped develop the church's active music ministry. Their participation shows how different generations within the ministry work together to develop local leadership skills. The Osteen family works together to demonstrate how the church combines family traditions with contemporary church practices. The system maintains stability while establishing a workplace atmosphere that prioritizes the family's foundational principles and their future ambitions. The organization creates strong bonds among members, but people question its ability to show operations and its methods of controlling authority. Lakewood's internal growth requires expansion of its ministries, which serve different demographic groups, including young adults and women, to remain relevant in the shifting cultural landscape. The megachurch movement shows itself through these activities, which focus on building community relationships and using multiple media platforms to create different church programs. Yet questions linger about how these programs address spiritual depth versus brand consistency. The evolving family dynamics link closely with another pressing issue: the shifting makeup and expectations of the church's audience itself. Generational challenges and future prospects. Lakewood Church, once a symbol of megachurch success, now faces a changing cultural landscape. Millennials and Gen Z attend church at historically low rates, about 16% and 15% respectively, challenging institutions built on large gatherings and traditional worship models. Younger audiences often prioritize authenticity, meaningful community, and social engagement over polished productions and prosperity-centered messages. Stadium-style services and motivational sermons may feel disconnected from their desire for personal connection and tangible impact, creating a gap between Lakewood's model and contemporary spiritual expectations. Digital media, online faith communities, small groups, and social activism have become the main alternatives to large worship events. The churches that depend on television broadcasts and arena-style services face challenges to maintain their current status. The prosperity message that Joel Osteen delivers does not connect with younger people who experience economic difficulties, mental health issues, and societal divisions. The church needs to make effective investments in leadership development, local outreach, and intergenerational dialogue for its future sustainability. The church can create spaces that allow mentorship and service initiatives and collaborative ministry to connect different generations while promoting deeper participation in church activities that extend beyond Sunday services. Joel Osteen's rise is a story of faith, media mastery, and undeniable influence, but also of mounting challenges and complex questions. Whether Lakewood adapts or declines, its journey reminds us how closely leadership, message, and culture are intertwined. If this video brought insight, please like and subscribe for more honest looks behind the headlines. Let's continue exploring faith in the modern world together.